What did Donald Trump win? Nothing. Donald Trump won nothing. Today, Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, removed tariffs on those American goods already covered by the USMCA trade agreement. And that was a very smart move by the Prime Minister. But you got to ask yourself, what did Donald Trump win? Donald Trump won absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. And I don't think that he's smart enough to realize that. In fact, his response to that was, "Oh, this is good for Canada." Oh, like he was glowing that and approving of Mark Carney removing the tariffs. And if you look at the right wing media in Canada, they were just criticizing the prime minister for pivoting, for like not accomplishing anything, or in Pierre Poilievre's case, he says, "Oh, Mark Carney showed weakness by um, um, making concessions to Donald Trump." But is that real? Is that true? Did Mark Carney actually make concessions? Are removing tariffs on goods already covered by the USMCA concessions? I don't think so. Mark Carney, I think, knows exactly who and what Donald Trump is, and he is acting accordingly. It's very important to note, people, that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And you've in this negotiating with a liar, a con man, a convicted felon in the White House. You have to consider the long game. You have to consider that one day, hopefully it can happen sooner rather than later, thank God, Donald Trump will not be in the White House. But his acolytes, if the Democrats don't get their shit together, his acolytes may one day occupy the White House and continue this um, destructive policy. But nonetheless, you have to consider the long game. Mark Carney knows exactly who Donald Trump is, and he knows that if he dangles the right carrot before Trump, Trump is going to bite at it. And in my opinion, that's exactly what happened today. Today, Donald Trump bit at the carrot. And so I think everybody has to realize, you know, uh, every day that there isn't a deal and a trade. I mean, we already have a trade deal on 85% of the goods uh, between Canada and the United States, and so basically they're squabbling over the 15%. Like we did maintain the tariffs on steel, aluminum, automobiles. I think I'm not sure about uh, American lumber, whether there's tariffs on that. I forgot to look that up. Maybe somebody in the comments can mention that to me. But nonetheless, we have to realize that those tariffs on those goods not covered by the USMCA are still there. And in my opinion, they should be increased, because you have to realize that currently the US dollar exchange rate is about 72 cents US. So when Trump does add tariffs to Canadian goods, the added cost probably isn't felt very much by American consumers and American companies. And so I often hear on social media, no one's talking about these tariffs in the United States. Well, yeah, they probably aren't if the cost of our goods isn't very high to begin with, and even if you add tariffs to them, the cost still won't be so restrictive that American companies won't Americans and American companies won't pay them. Which leads me to another thing. The Americans were touting the fact that they were making billions and billions of dollars in tariff revenues, touting that as a great thing. But you do realize that tariffs are a tax. And the Americans, the Trump administration, are touting the fact, oh, We raised taxes on the American people, and we're so glad. We're so proud to announce that we made billions in higher taxes off the American people. What? Usually, when the subject of taxes in Canada um, is almost like a taboo subject, like no one wants to talk about it. And the fact that Mark Carney has removed tariffs on those goods already covered by USMCA basically means he's lowering taxes on Canadian consumers and Canadian companies. And the right wing media, of course, is not mentioning this, but that's what he's doing. So, like, keep in mind, Canada, I mean, we are 1/9 to 1/10 the size of our economy, 1/10 to 1/9 the size of the United States. So we have to do things differently because the size differential is so different. And so, like, when the Americans do something, it doesn't automatically mean that we have to um, do the same thing or whatever. But what we need to do is we need to think before we act. We need to realize we can't just jump in feet first into this and and think that that's, oh, we just got to get something. We got to get something. Donald Trump gave us a deadline, and if we don't meet that deadline, oh, terrible things are going to happen. Well, terrible things are going to happen. Donald Trump has been very destructive to countries all over the world. He thinks that using tariffs as a means to generate revenue, basically raise taxes on American citizens, um, is a great way to pay down their trillions and trillions of dollars of debt, and to basically be a mob boss to companies all over the United States to try to force them to shake them down into relocating to the United States, when this basically is not going to work in the long run. It will not work. Tariffs, as history has shown, are not an effective means of economic policy. And like I said, one day Donald Trump's going to be gone, and hopefully future administrations, whether they're Democrat or Republican, are going to realize that, you know, they've got to drop this tariff policy ASAP. So my message to Canada, Canadians, my message to the United States is one day this is going to end. Have patience. Um, and to Canadians particularly, Prime Minister Mark Carney, my feeling is he is doing the right thing. He is very carefully, he knows who Donald Trump is, and he knows that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And I think that he is going to, in the long run, he's going to do the right thing for the country. He's going to do the right thing for the Canadian economy, Canadian businesses, Canadian workers. But we, the Canadian people, have the patience to let him do that. We can't be complaining every single day that we don't have a trade agreement. We can't be complaining that, uh, oh, he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything. Well, he has done it. He's done something. He's dangled the carrot before Donald Trump, and Donald Trump bit at the carrot. And one more thing, Pierre Poilievre seems to think that, oh, I can I can be respectful to Donald Trump and get a trade agreement if I were prime minister. Well, in my opinion, Pierre Poilievre is either naive, dumb, or he has no idea what the hell he's doing. Donald Trump is a con man, a liar, a convicted felon. If you think for one red second that Donald Trump is going to respect other countries, including Canada, you are just completely out to lunch. And Pierre Poilievre is completely out to lunch if he thinks he can, he can be the prime minister just sitting down in a room with Donald Trump and get the best possible deal for our country. because I can tell you as sure as I'm sitting here that if Pierre Polyev were in the same position as Mark Carney, he would sell us out faster than you can blink. Donald Trump could find an easy mark in Pierre Polyev, and we would be up a creek without a paddle. So I'm glad that it is Mark Carney who is in this position instead of Pierre Polyev. But have patience, everybody. And this is Toronto Stevie Live. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. And I hope everyone's doing fine. But I'll sign off now. Have a good night.